So to find out my whole take on the Netflix streaming challenges issue from Sunday, April 16th, take a look at my Twitter feed. If you're here and you keep watching, what you're going to get is my breakdown of the charts ahead of earnings, which are set to release after the close on Tuesday, April 18th. So what you see here is a weekly chart of Netflix. And if you're new here, I'm Hema Reddy. I use price, time, and momentum trading to boost my results as well as those of my tribe. And I am starting with a weekly chart here looking at recent action on Netflix. So what we have here is moves higher in price that are following a distinct pattern in something called drives, like driving a car. And I get into this more in my missing trend strategy and my Gann trading pattern system. And where we are now is room for the chart of Netflix to make another drive higher, say towards 420 or 450. Now, not over a day, not over a week, but maybe over the next coming months. So if we zoom into the more recent price action and we compare it to the RSI power zones, which is my indicator down below this black squiggly line, there is also a bullish pattern that's been unfolding on Netflix. And that's been happening between the week ending December 30th, 2022, and the week ending March 10th, okay? On top of that is another more minor pattern that's happening in, again, momentum between the March 10th and the March 17 weekly lows. So the bullish indications of that are unfolding, and right now there's a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of sideways trading on Netflix, naturally into earnings, but still that has data in it, that has patterns in it that we can analyze to be ready for what may happen close to earnings and after earnings release. All right, so we've spent time here in the weekly chart. I'm going to move to the daily chart. Now, making this change on the same chart here in my TradeStation platform will retain all the annotations I just made. They may just look a little funny like my orange drive lines because they are not repositioned for the daily chart, okay? What I really want to focus on is what I'm seeing new or additionally here. Okay, so if we come in here and we look at the latest action off of the March 14th low, right now, this itself is breaking up into a couple of drives, and there's important support at 316.60. Now that's based on a Gann trading pattern. It's a simple but very, very powerful one that I use a lot. So if you see Netflix trade into 316.60 and start to form a price low, okay, that's a bar low, a lower bar low, and then another higher bar low, especially if the RSI power zones are able to stay above the lower end of the bull support power zone at 40, then that would be a good sign for Netflix to fuel higher, okay? So this is presuming that Netflix continues to edge lower into earnings. Now, if Netflix trades higher from here, what do I see as the key targets up ahead? Well, I've just laid them out, and you can see a combination of solid and dashed lines that give this. First is the most recent high here from April 4th at 349.80. Then these specific levels that you see here, 359, 369.22, and 379.43. Why I selected that, how I derived it, the logic and reasoning behind it, and why it's powerful is something I teach in the Forward Zones RSI coverage system. So I'm deploying what I know and what I teach my tribe, again, across price, time, and momentum. I'm just saving the teaching for later and doing the doing here, okay? So you can have this analysis to review into Netflix earnings and after. So again, if shares resume higher from current levels here, whether they first go down to 316.60 or not, these are the initial upside targets, and bigger picture over coming weeks and months, I do see that if this barrier is broken, the next upside target would be up into probably 420 to 450. So the middle of that is about 435. Okay. Let's look and see if there's any forecast that we can use to have expectations on when these events might unfold in Netflix. So I'm going to do some forecasting and be back in a moment. So super interesting, completely independent of the fact that tomorrow, April 18th, is the earnings release date, I have a forecast that I was able to calculate that actually ties into that date. So that forecast is for price to be at 391.35 April 18th. Now, again, forecasts, the way I teach them and use them, they don't work 100% of the time, but even when they miss, whether it's by a little bit or a lot, I teach how to trade miss forecasts. So there's information that you can pull here to be able to benefit from it. And what I want to focus on here is that we are in a corrective pattern lower. We're coming into the timing date. So what may happen is what's called a cycle inversion, where instead of trading higher into a key timing point that's part of a forecast, the market actually trades lower and then forms a very important low on that date, from which we could then set up a new forecast. All right, so big picture, the important supports for me on Netflix are 316.60 coming to the earnings day. The nearby resistance at 349.80 is key, and if it's broken, then I think it might make quick work of some of these nearby resistance levels. And the key timing point of April 18th, pulling on price, independent of that being an earnings date, adds to the likelihood that it will be a very significant trading day. Not necessarily volatile, but one that will have an impact on how Netflix unfolds for days and weeks to come. Again, not just because it's an earnings date, but because of the cycles playing in. So I hope that helps, and I'll catch you next time.